Hello and welcome back to What in the World is Dyscalculia, the podcast that is all about the math-related specific learning disorder. I'm Dr. Honora Wall, founder of the Dyscalculia Training and Research Institute. You can find out more about us at www.thedtri.org, and make sure you check out the free printable PDFs. We have a one-page fact sheet that's great for families, schools, and teachers. And we also have some smaller infographics and brochures for students, parents, and teachers. They're free. Grab them, print them, share them. Let's raise awareness together. The What in the World is Dyscalculia podcast is sponsored by EduCalc Learning, and you can learn more about our work there at educalclearning.com. And that's a great resource for students through some online math classes we have for K-12 students, and for teachers. We do a lot of training, and we have everything from introductory courses to graduate level courses if you need those credits for licensing renewal. And so that's where you can get some great information, but I want to give you some more information today in this podcast. And I want to talk about how do we help in the classroom? What are we supposed to do for students who have dyscalculia? This is a huge question right now in education, and a lot of states are moving students into 504 plans for dyscalculia rather than IEPs. Some are still using IEPs. The difference between those two, in a nutshell, there are other differences, but our biggest one for our purposes is that the IEP requires a different kind of instruction. We're saying, hey, the student needs a different kind of instruction, and what does that look like? What does that mean? The 504 focuses more on what accommodations are we offering, what accommodations are the student able to use, and what are they using consistently, and what are we going to provide in that way. Of course, this is a huge problem because the question is, what would different instruction look like for students with dyscalculia? The good news is, super easy. You've already had a lot of training in it, more than likely, and it might be different than what you're currently using in the classroom, but it's very effective, super easy to use. What you want to do for a student who has dyscalculia at any grade level, any age, is you have got to use explicit, direct instruction. You've got to start with that. Now that can be different from a lot of current schools that are using a lot of project-based learning and incorporating that idea of exploratory mathematics. Now certainly, absolutely, project-based learning and exploratory mathematics and learning is really great at getting a deeper understanding and connection with math concepts, and that can be very effective and very fun for pretty much all students, except not if they have dyscalculia. And of course, that is a hallmark of the math learning disorder, isn't it? The interventions we're already using are great for most people, but not for these students. The accommodations we're used to offering are fantastic for almost all students, except not for these students. And that's really our difference. The things that work to help students with dyscalculia will also help everyone else, but the reverse is not true. Things that help most other students are not going to be effective for you students with dyscalculia. Does that mean I want you to abandon project-based learning? No, of course not. And does that mean, we cannot offer more enriching discussions for students with dyscalculia? Lord, no. That is absolutely opposite of what I am telling you. What I am telling you is that if you start with project-based learning or exploratory mathematics, students with dyscalculia are likely to remain frustrated. They're not going to get to that conceptual understanding you're looking for because they can't keep up with what's going on. They're not sure what you mean, and even if they know what you meant, they're not sure what they're supposed to actually do. None of that is on the test Friday, so it's not helping them move their grade. And that's where they're still staying disconnected. If you can start with direct instruction, very explicit, this is exactly what we do. Don't be afraid of the algorithms. Why are we afraid now of steps and procedures? There's nothing wrong with them. That's how you do it. Let the students get mastery. And in my experience, it hasn't failed me yet. I've been doing this a long time with students who have dyscalculia. Once we get mastery and they know how to do it and they're doing it right, now they are open to the conceptual conversation. Now they will do some project-based learning. Now they're ready to play some games. Now they're going to talk about real-life applications because they got that mastery first and they can apply what to do into these new enriching, interesting situations. But you got to start with direct instruction. You have to be exceptionally clear. You cannot skip steps. You cannot say, oh, and then we divided by 1/2. No, no, no. You have to write down what that looks like and the steps of how that has to happen. You want the memory trigger. You want the visual progression. You want everything labeled. If you're using color, fantastic. You're going to have a lot more engagement, and the brain understands how and where to file things. What is different and unique about this part because it's in red? Oh, okay, that's a step that I need to follow. All of that coding and those triggers you can build in while you're doing that direct instruction. Don't make any leaps in the conversation. Don't assume, oh, everyone knows at this part we're subtracting 5. No, they don't. You've got to say what you're doing. Even when you're using those steps and procedures for higher level math, and we have a few steps going on, and we want to get through writing this problem out quickly, we have things to do, you need to add in those steps. You cannot make those assumptions. Make sure that everyone in the room sees exactly what's going on and that you state exactly what you're doing. And then check in with the students during the lesson. Are they verifying their work? Either with a multiplication list, not the chart, or with the calculator. You know, I'm a huge fan of the TI-30XA. Costs about 12 to 15 bucks. You can get it anywhere. It will take you from 5th grade math through Algebra 2 and quite a few calc applications. It's really a fantastic tool, and it's easy for students to operate once you show them exactly how. It doesn't have to come with a huge manual. You're not moving between screens. You're not pulling up different menu items. We know that people with dyscalculia struggle with steps and procedures. So why would we give them a calculator that requires extra steps and procedures? It's kind of counterintuitive. So give them a calculator that makes sense, or up to 4th/5th grade. I really like having the multiplication list. You're going to use that for so many things. I'm going to do an episode where we talk about exactly how to use it, but it's a great tool. But you're going to make sure that you ask them, okay, I want you to put -5 minus 8 in the calculator. Tell me what you get. Based on their answer, you're going to know, are they putting the signs in correctly? Is the calculator understanding the steps that they want to do? Or do you need to come over and say, oh, okay, hang on, let's make sure we've got the order of the buttons properly laid out. Let me make sure we're doing that the right way. Go through a couple of problems with them. Let's try -7 minus 3. Let's try -7 plus -3. Get the buttons figured out. When they know, okay, if I do this, and I do this, and I do this, now I can trust my answer. Perfect. Now we can move forward. Now we're getting through all of the assigned classwork and homework, which is appropriate for these students. They do not need a modification. No modification required for students with dyscalculia. Accommodations, yes. Correct support tools, yes. Modification, no. That's entirely different and inappropriate for this population of students. Once they've got the right answer and they're getting the work done and now they're keeping up with everyone and they're feeling really good about things, now you can start talking about, why do we even have integers? Well, we can talk about deep sea diving. We can talk about banking and finance. Now we can talk about all the different areas in life where you may or may not have negative numbers. It does not apply to distance. So now we can get that enrichment piece. And when we introduce project-based learning, there's an anchor for the student. They know the math is going to work, and now they can trust the exploration. You've got to do it in that order. You've got to use scaffolding. You've got to use direct instruction. Plug that in to your classrooms. Give it a little more than you're already doing. More direct, more scaffolding, more mastery. Then your students will be happy to come along with you on your project-based learning journey. Okay, that was some very quick information for you about how to instruct differently for students with dyscalculia. Very easy to implement. You don't have to buy anything new. You don't have to do anything entirely different from what you're comfortable with. You will see almost immediate results. And if you don't, you can email me, honora@educalclearning.com or honora@thedtri.org. And I'm happy to talk with you and help you solve some of the problems in your classroom. But you're probably going to email me and say, wow, I cannot believe it. I did not think that was going to work. And it worked right away because it's an exceptionally effective tool. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of What in the World is Dyscalculia. I hope that you are engaged with the growing community of dyscalculia experts. It's really nice to see our little red-headed stepchild of a learning disorder getting some recognition and awareness. And you play a key role in spreading that awareness even farther. So thank you for being part of the journey. I'm Dr. Honora Wall, and I'll see you next time on What in the World is Dyscalculia.